I'm Ed Sheffield. Edward, Edward, C Sheffield, Sheffield. I was born and raised at Cabbage Grove
Could you
Community.
Cabbage Grove?
Cabbage Grove Community.
Spell it.
C-A-B-B-A-G-E.
C-A-B-B-A-J.
A-G-E.
A-G-E.
Cabbage Grove Community.
Ah. What state is that?
That's in Florida. Perry, Florida.
Mm-hmm. And what is your birthday?
March 23rd, 1930.
Tell me about your family, your parents and your siblings when you were growing up.
I'm the oldest of 5 boys and 2 girls.
Uh-huh. How about your parents?
My parents are dead.
Uh-huh. But when you growing up,
yeah,
what was he doing?
He was doing odd jobs, but he worked mostly at the school system.
Oh. Was he teacher?
No.
Oh. And what school did you go through?
Go through?
Yeah.
Well, I went through Perry Taylor County High,
Mm-hmm.
but I also attended the Cabbage Grove Community School. That only went through the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm. When did you graduate the high school?
I graduated from high school after I got out of the service.
So when did you actually join the army? Did you join the army or?
I joined the army because there wasn't any more work in the area to do, and it was too far to town. It had no bus running.
Ah.
So me and my brother decided to go in the military.
Ah. There was no job around?
No.
So your younger brother and you joined the army together?
The one next to me, yeah.
Ah. Do you remember what day you joined it?
January the 19th, 1949.
What is your younger brother's name?
Otis.
Spell it, please.
O-T-I-S.
Otis Sheffield.
Yeah.
Wow, you joined the army with your brother together.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. Where did you go to receive basic military training?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Uh-huh. And what kind? What was your specialty?
I had no specialty, just basic training, until I was shipped overseas, and then I was assigned to as a communication chief.
Communication chief.
Yeah.
What does that mean, communication chief?
Well, that's the radios and telephones.
Did you fix or did you use it?
Well, we used it and fixed it.
So you were trained to fix it, repair
Mm-hmm.
those things? Were you good at it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then what happened to you? Did you go to Korea directly from there or what?
We were stationed in Camp Hakata, Japan.
When did you leave for Japan?
For Japan, I left, I forgot when I left.
Was it before the war or after?
Yeah,
the
it was
war?
up before the war.
1949?
Yeah, we were stationed in Japan about a year when the war broke out in Korea.
Uh-huh. What did you do in Japan?
We were just basic training and exercise.
Mm-hmm. How was the life in Japan? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was a little strange for me.
Tell me about it. What's strange?
Well, the countryside was still not, rebuilt from World War II
Mm-hmm.
when we got there. And it just looked like a shamble wreck.
That was it. When did you leave for Korea from Japan?
From Japan, the war broke out on June the 25th, 1950,
Yeah.
and we were alerted immediately because we were only about 90 miles from there. And I shipped out on the 2nd of July. 2nd of July, we loaded on LSTs and made our route to Busan, Korea. And on the 3rd of July, no, on the 4th of July, I was on the front lines.
낙동 perimeter. Busan perimeter? Front line of Busan perimeter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where did you, what is your first cavalry? Or what is your unit?
My unit was 63rd Field Artillery Battalion.
63rd
Yeah,
Artillery Battalion, right?
Battalion, yeah.
Yeah.
Headquarters battery.
And what's the what division is this?
24th Division. All under General MacArthur.
How was the situation in Busan perimeter?
Well, it was the country and the towns were still tore up from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, Busan.
Busan.
Perimeter. How was
Oh,
the situation at the
Busan.
front line?
Yeah, well, it was a old age country,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't have many roads going up through Korea, and only one or two railroads. And when we landed in Busan, they transferred us immediately to railroad cars, and we headed north to the front line.
How was the battle situation there?
Oh, it was terrible.
Tell me about the details.
The Chinese were coming at us, the
North Koreans.
North Koreans at first. They were coming at us full blast, trying to take all of Korea. And we had orders to hold them at all costs. And I lost my chain of thought now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am 84 years old.
I know.
And I've tried to forget a great deal of it, you know.
Yeah.
But Busan, Korea was not a real big town. But we didn't stay there. We immediately transferred to railroad cars and headed north to the combat zone.
Right.
Combat zone was a little south of Seoul at that time. They had already came across the demarcation line. And
how close between you and North Koreans at the Busan perimeter? How close?
the distance.
Yeah.
Probably 600 to 800 miles.
Okay. And were you scared at the time?
No, but the commanders kept telling us, you know, we were facing real bullets.
Yeah.
And better be prepared for it.
Uh-huh.
And when we got up on the front lines, most of our infantry was already wiped out.
Oh.
Because I was on the front lines on the 3rd, and they had been there for a few days before. And you know, in artillery, big artillery weapons, you usually set up from a mile to 2 miles behind the front lines.
Yes.
In support of the infantry.
Yeah.
And the infantry had practically been wiped out, so we found ourselves right up on the front line. And like I said, it's in that country, it's hard to move big trucks and big equipment. And we had to move from place to place and try to find places to get off the road to set up our big guns. And the roads were also crowded with civilian people trying to get out of combat zone, moving south to hopefully peace. And so we had to deal with all the people, and we had withdrew 6 times and was in a 7th position when it was finally overrun. The North Koreans captured us. They had knocked out all the bridges behind us, and we couldn't withdraw anymore. So we were there setting ducks.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you were captured in Busan perimeter?
No, I was captured in the Seoul. Seoul is right up on the border of the demarcation line.
Yeah. Seoul.
So we were just south of Seoul.
Suwon or Seoul?
Seoul.
Seoul.
Yeah.
Seoul, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah. Do you remember the day that you were captured?
Yeah, it's on the 14th. 14th in the daytime.
Yeah, September? August?
No, it was July.
July 14th.
Yeah.
I think you were captured not in Seoul. No. I don't think so.
The North Koreans had already took Seoul.
Yeah.
And had captured several civilians, and that they kept with us. Not immediately with us, but close enough we could see them, you know. They kept them with us all up through North Korea.
Where were you when you were captured? Was it Busan perimeter, Daegu, or do you remember where you were captured?
About 50 miles west of Seoul. Or south of Seoul, I don't remember. Right lays right now.
Yeah. Got it. And it was North Koreans, right?
It was North Koreans, yeah.
How do they treat you?
Oh, terrible.
Tell me about it.
We were laying there our big weapon was on the right side of the road. The left side of the road was rice paddies. And me and 5 other guys was on the left side of the road in a irrigation ditch that feeds the rice paddies. And we were overlooking the rice paddies, and the big guns was on the other side of the road. And most of our guys was on the other side of the road. Well, I kept seeing little clumps of bushes out across these rice paddies get up and move. And that's where I was concentrating, and that's where I was firing. And all of a sudden, the forces quit moving so fast, and we were in a little lull there, and had a little bit of fire coming out across the rice paddies, and I looked over my shoulder, and there was 5 of the guys laying dead in the ditch right next to me. And our battalion commander was he was just the other side of the road. He was standing inside of a 6-by with a loudspeaker telling us we were being surrounded. And he got shot right in the head.
Oh. You saw that?
Yeah. And there was 5 of us. There was 6 of us on the left side of the road. 5 had just been killed, laying there in the ditch. And I was wondering how in the world they got killed when they were down in the lagoon a little ways.
Yeah.
And I was looking out across here where the rice paddies where grass was getting up and moving here and there.
Right.
And but what happened, the North Koreans decided they were going to surround us. So they were holding us at the front, and they sent guys, some of their guys, off over the mountain to the right and some off over the mountain to the left to come around and surround us. And that's where we were getting our fire from the rear. That's how the 5 got killed. The guy next to me, I was loading another clip of ammunition in my carbine, and was moving back to the top of the ridge there, and the guy next to me, laying right next to me, got a bullet in his back, went all the way through him. And
how did North Korea treat you?
terrible.
Did they hit you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, let me tell you.
Look at this way, yeah.
When they captured me and the guy that had been shot right through the middle and right next to me, they brought us up on the road. And when I looked over my shoulder to the left, and I seen 5 North Koreans standing there with the weapons pointed at me. I knew if I moved, I was dead. So I just froze for a minute. One of the guys ran up there and stuck a bayonet in my back.
Bayonet?
Yeah.
Just stuck it?
Yeah. And then he kicked my weapon away from me. And when he did, I turned over. And
so you were bleeding?
yeah,
Oh my God. They just did it?
yeah.
Without reason? You didn't move or you didn't do resistance?
No, I didn't resist them, but they seen this Army officer's belt that I had on. They had captured 2 days before. He was infiltrating our line with a rice paddy on his back, and with his weapons and his ammunition in this A-frame pack. And he was the one that was blowing up the bridges behind us. Oh, well, maybe not this particular one, but some of them. They were dressed in civilian clothes, and they were coming along the road with the other civilians. And they seen this belt that I had. We had started checking them, and we've discovered 2 or 3 of them, but it was too late. They'd already got behind us. And I'd got his belt and was keeping it as a souvenir. And I thought the North Korean was going to kill me because of that.
Oh, I see.
And they roughed me up pretty good. And then they moved us up to the road, and they brought the other guys in from the other side. There was 8 of them. So there was 10 of us captured right there. Some of the guys from the other side of the road were bleeding also. And they tied our hands behind us with communication wire. And the North Korean was running all over the place there. They was getting some of the weapons and some of the trucks we had there. And they brought us all together for a few minutes right there on the road. And then they decided they were going to take us back through their lines. Well, we started out through their lines and in this irrigation ditch. Of course, it's winding like this, you know, but it's going right up through our line. And I got a bullet hit my leg. That was after I was captured.
How? North Korean shot?
Yeah, I think it was coming from a sniper up yonder,
Okay,
you know.
okay.
Didn't know we were captured already.
So were you able to walk?
Yeah, I was able to walk.
You were bleeding from your back and bleeding from the left leg, and you still were able to walk?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they kept moving us on up through their lines till we got out of the immediate battle area, and they rushed us off the side of the trail, little ox trail, alongside of this irrigation ditch. And they rushed us off the side of the road, and we sat there for a while. And then they moved us on up to their lines till we got to the river. And then that's where we spent the first night, in a little cornfield. And my buddy next to me that got shot through the middle there, he died that night. And the next morning, they got a big boat to put us on and took us across the river.
And?
From there, we kept going north, and they'd put us off the road, in between the mountains, and during the daytime, where the planes wouldn't strafe us. And they'd move us mostly at night.
So you were in the ship?
The boat, yeah.
Yeah, boat.
Yeah.
Okay. And where did you go from there?
Right on up north, and went to Sewell first. Sewell.
Seoul.
Yeah.
And then?
Sewell is in South Korea.
Yeah.
So we stayed there at Sewell a couple of days. Then they put us on railroad cars and took us north in Korea. In North Korea. And some of the guys was sick, wounded, and they wasn't feeding us either.
Not a single?
No,
time?
not for the first few days.
Never?
Not for the first few days.
Wow. And where did you arrive?
Well, they stopped us after we got on the train and went into North Korea.
Yeah.
They stopped in a little train station, and we got bombed. Well, the planes didn't know we were captured. You
Right.
know. So we got strafed and bombed with the train, with the planes.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them were British planes, and some of them were American planes. But they kept moving us on up in Korea. But we had to eliminate the train after a while and get away from it because planes was after it so bad. So we walked most of the way. So we got way up there on the banks of the Yellow River in North Korea, and they had us in a cornfield right on the banks of the Yellow River, which was about a mile across it right there. And I could see up the river, and there was a bridge about a mile from us.
Oh.
And on October the 30th, I seen the first bunch of the Chinese come across the river.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By that time, see, our forces had already took South Korea back, and we're moving into North Korea. And they had sandwiched the North Korean fighting forces down in South Korea. So we had them on two sides then.
What camp did you go?
What camp?
Yeah.
I was in Camp 7 for the first year and a half.
You were in the Camp 7?
Yeah. That was Apex area.
Apex area,
Yeah.
And then?
Well, the Chinese, we spent the first winter in severe weather. But after the death march, when we left the cornfield there on the banks of the Yellow River, that's where the Tiger took us over.
What do you mean Tiger?
The North Korean People's Police Force commander took us over from the military. And he was ready to shoot us all. We had 17 men in a sick bay there that was too weak, too sick to move. And we had built a breaker around them with corn stalks and whatever we could find. And when the Tiger took us over, they started...
Why do you call them Tiger?
Well, he was like a tiger ready to pounce on people.
What did you say? It's a North Korean military police?
Police force commander.
Police force commander.
Yeah. Yeah. He took us over there, and they were moving us back on the road. We were in a cornfield here on the banks of the Yellow River, and the road was about 300 yards up this way. And they were moving us back up to the road that runs along North Korea and Pyongyang, and that's where all of the South Chinese were going down this road as they're coming across the river. On the bridge up there, they hit this road, and they were going down this road to the front line. Well, we could hear the bombing in the distance. We knew the front lines were not very far from us.
I see.
And the Tiger told us we were going on a forced march. He was using a missionary as an interpreter. because he could understand all the language. And they told us we were going on a march up to these rugged mountains. And the ones that couldn't make it were going to be shot.
Mm.
So before we got on the road, he machine gunned the sick bay, killing all 17 of them.
Just kill everybody.
Yeah. We found out that he was in charge of killing about 300 people just before he took us over in another area. He killed them in a tunnel.
What is the reason? They didn't want to keep you?
No, they didn't want to keep us, but we started marching from there up to Pyongyang. And Pyongyang had been bombed that day and was burning to the ground. And we got right close to Pyongyang, and there was a big mountain cliff there off the road a little ways. And they rushed us off the road, hurdled us against that mountain cliff, and they set up 3 machine guns out here.
So you were actually marching towards south from the camp, right?
No, we were marching north.
You said you were in the Apex camps?
Apex area, yeah.
That's far north here.
Yeah.
Pyongyang is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So you were going down.
That's where we made it through the death march.
You're
We
right.
were going that way.
So you were headed to Apex or you were headed to Pyongyang?
We were at Pyongyang. Is that Pyongyang
Yeah,
here?
right there.
Okay, we were right here on the banks of the Yellow River,
Uh-huh.
and we were going north up
Yalu
through
River
these
is-
rugged mountains.
Yalu River is here, so must be different river.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is it, then, because we were way up here,
Right.
Apex area. That's
Right.
where we spent the first
Right.
winter.
And then you were going down to Pyongyang.
Whenever the Koreans finally decided to turn us over to the Chinese, they put us on boats and went down the Yellow River to Camp 5.
Okay. And that's where that they set up the machine gun and trying to kill you.
No,
When?
they set up the machine gun before we did the death march.
What is Death March?
Well, it was a forced march
From where? From Apex?
from Pyongyang
Uh-huh.
up through the rugged mountains
Okay.
to the Apex area.
Okay. Uh-huh. And that's where they set it up the machine gun and kill you.
Well, just before we hit Pyongyang, they rushed us off the side of the road against a big mountain cliff, and they set up 3 machine guns.
I see.
And the tiger was walking up and down with his handgun in his hand, and he was saying something to his guards, and the missionaries that were captured with us, they could understand what he was saying.
Right.
And they went to pleading with him, and for some reason he left and went into town and was gone for about 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came back and they started dismantling the machine guns. Well, we took a deep breath, because I'd already told my buddy, I said, this is where we're going to die.
So that's how you survived.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, when we started the death march, the tiger was walking at the end of the column. And some of the guys were too sick to walk fast, and they'd wind up, even with us helping them, 2 of us on each side of him helping him, he'd wind up at the end of the column, rear of the column, where the tiger was walking. and he'd walk up there to me and punch me in the side with his handgun, told me, put him down. Well, you had no choice, put him down.
Mm-hmm.
And he motioned for us to catch up to the column.
Mm-hmm.
And before we got 20 feet away, he'd shoot the guy, take his foot, kick him over the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
There was a ox cart road up through these mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and part of it was froze over already.
How was Apex camp?
Apex was a little village right up on the banks of the river,
Mm-hmm.
with several different houses and one little two-room schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And they put all they could in the schoolhouse and put the rest of us in little farmhouses there in the community.
How many times do they... Apex was under the North Koreans or the Chinese?
It was under the North Koreans at that time.
Do they beat you and interrogate you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they'd beat you for no reason at all, really.
So Chinese and North Koreans were really different?
Oh, yeah. The Chinese were more modern people. And after we was turned over to the Chinese, they fed us real good, and brought in a doctor that gave us some medicine to get rid of the worms.
So that was Camp 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you turned over to
Chinese.
Chinese? When?
It was in October, I think it was.
October 1950.
51.
51. How many times did North Koreans give you meal a day?
North Koreans, they fed us, well, that's where we starved to death under them. They fed us millet balls. The balls of millet,
Yeah.
about the size of a tennis ball,
Yeah.
once a day.
One today?
Yeah. And we lost, that first winter we lost 300 people up there
At Apex.
at the Apex area.
300 people?
Yeah.
Do they bury them?
No, we took them. They made us take 4 of us. They called 4 of us out of the compound, and we picked the guy up, because it took 4 of us to carry one that didn't weigh 70 pounds. But we take him up in the mountains and find a gully, rake the snow back, lay him down, pull the snow over. It was too cold, you couldn't dig a hole.
When were you released?
I was relieved on August the 30th, 1953.
Mm-hmm. Looking back those years, why do you think it happened to your life?
Well, I don't know why the Americans joined the Korean War, really. But I guess it was General MacArthur that wanted to save South Korea. And they alerted us before the end of the month. And we loaded on the LSTs and took off for Busan, Korea. And we landed in Busan. It took us all night to get there. We landed in Busan the next morning and immediately transferred to railroad cars.
Yeah. Do you regret
Oh, no. No, I don't regret because I joined the military, you know. Whatever they wanted to do, I was ready to do.
What made you get through all those difficult times?
Well, I was in good shape before I went there. Because I was born and raised on a little farm in the backwoods of the county. And I had been managing cows and hogs and a little farm for and working at odd jobs, if I could find any odd jobs in the community there. And until there wasn't any more jobs, and then we had to do something. Couldn't go to school.
So you were strong.
Yeah.
Did you believe God?
Yeah.
So did you pray?
Yeah.
What did you pray? During the camp, in the camp?
I prayed for some bummers to come over there and wipe out North Korea completely, even if it was us along with it.
Do you think that it was God that made you through that difficult times?
Yeah. The food and the water that they fed us was contaminated, and it caused sickness, diarrhea, and that's what killed most of the guys. That and cold weather, severe cold. We lay there at the apex area. We lay there in the rooms at night. They had 20 to 25 men in a room the size of a small bedroom. But the crowded conditions is what kept us from freezing to death. A lot of them froze to death anyway.
Have you been back to Korea?
No.
Do you want to go back to Korea?
I've been thinking about it. South Korea is a modern country now.
Very much.
Yeah.
Because you fought for us.
Well, see, this is the last reunion we're having.
Yeah, I know.
So from here on, we got to stay home or do something different.
Right.
So I might decide to go. I don't know.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to this interview?
No.
You are very lucky to survive this Tiger's machine gun. How do you think that it happened to you?
There was 723 of us to start with.
700?
723 that was captured when my outfit was wiped out. And out of the 723, we lost the most of them. There was only 300.
300 survived?
300 survived.
So there are many friends here.
Most of these guys came in there after we were gone, wiped out.
So you are the oldest kind of captured POW, right?
Well, there's going to be about 3 or 4 of us Tiger survivors here.
Here?
Yeah.
You have to introduce them to me.
Yeah.
How do you put all these things into a perspective?
Well, I don't anymore, you know. I used to, but I forgot a great deal of it.
You want to forget?
Yeah.
Edward, thank you so much for sharing this hard and unimaginable experience of yours, and I want to thank you on behalf of Korean nation for all those sufferings, and thank you very much again.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.